Assalamu alaikum, everyone. You didn't expect this, but like I said, you're in for a treat. It's the Maju show today. Okay, this is just all unhooked, unfiltered. No, I'm kidding. I just want to welcome everyone. Of course, I'm followed or I'm sharing the stage with our lovable GM. What am I saying? He's only shaking his head. It only took what a good 51 seconds to get going.
Literally. Assalamualaikum Maju.
Just see, hey,
Uh,
at least today I'm not wearing Montreal or something. I'm not bashing the Leafs. They can bash themselves, signing Key for an extra I don't know how many years, but
But you're absolutely right. This will definitely be the Maju show. So this is going to be all you. This is going to be how you want it, how you design it. But I'm sure it'll be fun. I'm definitely looking forward to it. So
yeah, inshallah. I mean, you can kind of see I have a little light over my head, so I'm being blessed.
yeah, it's from yesterday's supermoon, I guess, right?
So we were hoping to have Omar, but I think he's having some technical issues. So inshallah, he'll be able to join us. If not, it's going to be myself. It's going to be Mr. Habibi, Mr. the lovable Arab, as I like to call him. Um, now, guys, please just bear with me because I'm still trying to figure out some of this stream stuff. But we got the summer recap. That's where we're going to go through. We're going to be recapping every single team, seeing how they did, what are their successes and pitfalls, right? Every team, regardless of how they did, they still had successes, and regardless of how well they did or not, they still had pitfalls. So how they overcame them, we're just going to let it flow. We're going to go through it and see where it takes us.
Yeah, and I just want to add too, like, we've obviously, with summer and all that, it's been obviously a little bit more quieter. Guys have, pretty much obligations to their summer with their, with their families and stuff like that. But it doesn't take anything away from this family, the Iceland family. So obviously, like this podcast is, it's just a free conversation between myself and Maju, but not taking away anything from the media team that actually does everything and just making sure that they get acknowledged as well. So we're gonna have fun with it, Maju. And like I said, I mean, obviously with it's there's no better time to have a recap, obviously, than the end of the season. So I think it's a great opportunity for us to, like you just said, look at the teams, what they did, throughout the whole season, and just have a free flowing conversation in terms of how the teams did well, because all six teams this season, mashallah, did well.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Nothing like we can't count on any team. Some of the teams, regardless, took other teams to the brink and pushed them as hard as possible. But Hamza, welcome. Yeah, I know we all missed the podcast, but again, like Habibi said, we all had competing obligations, and inshallah for the fall, we'll be back to our normally scheduled program.
Inshallah, inshallah.
Inshallah. So, and this is kind of one reason the Maju show is happening today too. Is like I'm trying to get my feet wet, trying to use the system, and see if I can support. Because of course, this is not to take anything away from our lovable, amazing, supercalifragilisticexpialidocious host Arif. I miss you, buddy, but sucks you aren't in this league. Syed Bilal, I'm guessing that's Bilal Syed. Dude, get rid of your Maple Leaf logo, man. Like, come on, bro. Oh.
Maju, I know this is your show. I'm gonna let it slide this year. I know once we get into the real hockey, the NHL season, you'll have every opportunity to bash the Leafs as you want. But this is
Unless they
your
win,
show. This is your show.
unless they win the president's trophy, man. Like, hey, that's an achievement. You can't take it away from anybody.
Absolutely.
So, okay, so let's jump right in. Muhib, hey, buddy, welcome. Bilal, welcome. Okay, so let's jump right in. The first team we're gonna analyze is Ikhlas. So, to give you a rundown, Habibi played for Ikhlas,
I did.
and again, he puts his the man puts his OC hat away when he's playing. He's not OC. He doesn't dictate anything. So anybody who wants to talk bad about my lovable Arab, just get it out of your minds, right? He puts that hat away. Of course he's going to be fighting for his team, but when he's OC, he's OC. When he's a player, he's a straight out player, and the man hustles. So let's break down a class. What were some of the successes, the challenges? Um, Habibi, take the floor, man.
Yeah. So to be honest with you, Abdullah did a very, very good job on drafting this team. And the reason why I say this, objectively is you take a look at his last two picks. You look at Ibi and Omar, the two kids that kind of were really instrumental in terms of how the team went, and then obviously look at the leadership of that team itself between Abdullah and Gangat. So this team was actually constructed extremely well. They looked very well on paper. We had three solid lines from the very beginning, like in terms of like how the team was drafted, but it just didn't work well for some reason. So you can have a great team that was drafted on paper, which I honestly truly believe the team was drafted extremely well on paper. Um, and it just really looked at, I don't think the record was reflective in terms of like how the team was constructed. I think Abdullah did an extremely well job, in terms of like where players were drafted. They just underperformed. But again, I can't ignore, the kids that were on that team. Like in terms of like Abdullah, sorry, in terms of like Omar and Ibi, those kids did actually a really good job. A really good job in terms of like, you know, the team and stuff like that. So like I said, in terms of my breakdown, in terms of like where I see this, where I see this team was drafted, the team was drafted extremely well. They just underperformed. Abdullah did extremely well in terms of drafting. Our goaltending was superb. Like with Black Bear, standing between the pipes, he did extremely well for us for the entire season. But we had a mix of veterans, we had a mix of youth, we had a mix of experience in terms of Adnan and the leadership that he brought to the team as well, and Mubin in terms of like the leadership that he brought to the team as well, in terms of like managing, the day-to-day stuff from the back end. But this team literally underachieved. It's unfortunate because I truly felt just playing on that team, and even with the new acquisitions with Zaid or Zain, I think brother Zain, a young kid that was acquired from Yakin, I was truly impressed with the way he played. Just one of those kids that kind of went under the radar. But the couple of games that he played for us, it really made a turnaround in terms of like how the team was constructed. But my overall analysis of this team objectively is it was definitely drafted extremely well. It just underperformed, and I don't think, in my honest opinion, that the record of Ikhlas was reflective in terms of how they performed. I still think they were a good team. I still think that they should have had a spot in the playoff round. They just underachieved, and unfortunately, they were knocked off in the playoffs.
Now we also have Omar Asawi, who's just joined us, but I think he's just stepped away for a minute. So Omar, I'm just going to unmute you because some background noise. But welcome, Omar, if you're there. But you can jump in at any point. I have to agree. I think Adnan and Abdullah really took a lot of the no-name guys. No one knew who they were. And I think at a point they had a little bit of trouble gelling initially, right? There were
Yeah.
some some strong personalities. Again, that's from the outside perspective. You were in there, so I'm just going to say that there may have been strong personalities that wanted to compete, but
Yeah.
when you guys were able to gel and put it together, you took teams to the limit. You took Iman, who's the leading team. You took them to a 5-3 within the last few minutes. So like again, you guys scored five on me, and not only just me, but the team. So when you guys were able to click, you guys clicked. But
Yeah, and actually, even with the new acquisitions that we did near the end of the season, Mohamed Patel, what an impressive player he was. Just the two games that he played for us really made a difference. And even look, the trades and the acquisitions that Abdullah made, from his GM front office, like he really did have the best interest of the class at hand. And I think it was just unfortunate that by the time everything just kind of worked for us near at the end of the season. You're right. We brought, some really good teams up to the, final few minutes of each game that we played, but I guess the timing wasn't right. And unfortunately, it was just something that, we couldn't capitalize on. I think the earlier part of the season kind of knocked us off, like pretty much, with our first few games. So.
Omar, any thoughts about Ikhlas's success, challenges, season?
Well, I mean, Abdullah is probably one of the most creative GMs we have in the league. He's definitely sent the OC back to the rule book a few times, given his cunningness and finding things that maybe we didn't see. But I think Abdullah went for a bit of a youth movement And no disrespect to Habibi, and yeah, he
Yeah,
definitely went for speed, right? I think where he assumed he was going to get familiarity in his roster, I don't think he found that. I think that it took the team way too long to gel. Um, you have like someone like Salman Sayed, who should really be a staple in terms of driving the offense and almost having the offense flow through him. But I felt like there was a lot of people that just kind of wanted to carry the ball and didn't want to kind of trust him to almost go and be a general on the floor, right? So I think it's lesson learned for Abdullah, and I think that I think at the end of the day, my opinion is that you always draft the best player available for the position that you need. I don't believe in loyalty to your friends or your family, especially in the early rounds. I think that when you don't take the best player available, you end up making some mistakes that will cost you in the end.
Omar, tell that kid to calm down in the background.
Sorry, man. She's three. She's like 2 months old. I don't
Oh my God,
understand me.
mashallah.
mashallah.
Okay, so I think we got some good talking points. Of course, guys in the chat, please shout out anything if you feel like we missed anything. Please be vocal, and I'll definitely get your points over. Now, the next team we're going to talk about is Haya. So, Haya being this juggernaut that started the season, they just could not be stopped initially. No one had a solution for them, and then they started pittering away. Um, they made a good deal to get a player here, and I think one player at least, Zia. Nakoda, I gotta give you that shout out, bro. I haven't done it in years. You definitely deserve to play on the spot you did. You just unfortunately didn't click on some of those passes where I think you should have, and poor. Uh, sorry, Habibi, your brother-in-law. I'm totally blanking on his name right now.
Hamoudi.
Hamoudi,
Hamoudi.
thank you. He was yelling at Zia in the last game, just yelling at him, pouring the guy. But hey, sometimes you got to go through the fire to come out stronger. But
But
yeah,
this is another team actually that was well constructed from the very beginning, and a lot of people pre-scouting or preseason painted this team to be making it to the playoffs. No one pictured that they would make it out of the playoffs. But looking back at how they drafted, I think it's a very big risk to draft goalies first round. I don't think that was a mistake in any way, but it's just it's just a high risk. Do you know what I mean? But that doesn't take away of how the team was constructed. You still have a strong GM duo with Hamoudi and Mohib. So those two guys, hands down, they could do anything. So by them solidifying a goalie in the first round, obviously right off the bat, you have the top three. You have a great forward, great defenseman, and a great goalie. Great chemistry, great a building in terms of how to build a team. But I think maybe later on in the draft, how they drafted the team, maybe they might have done it differently. I don't know. I'm not privy to that information. But again, and I've done this for so many years that when it comes to how GMs draft, sometimes nobody really knows until that clock is ticking, and then they just kind of make picks. And obviously, they made picks that as Asai would say, they picked a player in their opinion that was best in that round.
Yeah.
They did. So it doesn't matter what any other team thinks. They did what was best for their team. And like I said, I think the team, in my opinion, again, was another well drafted team. It's just one of those things where they underachieved.
now
Because they did have the pieces. They had a solid forward. And Mohib, hands down, he won the scoring championship. So there's no reason why, there's there. You got Hamoudi, who's a versatile player. You can play forward, you can play D, whatever you want, and you got a top solid goalie. So that's definitely a strong foundation for a strong team. I just think they also underachieved.
Now, I don't think Wahib is ever going to let down that if and or but of taking Hamza first overall, like you said. It's always
it's just a risk. You know what I mean? I'm not saying that was a bad thing or a
no,
good thing.
not at all.
It's just one of those things where that GM duo felt that they needed to solidify again, like I said, top forward, top defenseman, top goalie, and they did that. It's just again when you look downwards, onwards, again, it's just they made they pretty much picked what they felt was a good team, and it was a well constructed team. again, I just think they underachieved as well.
Now,
So
sorry. Some may argue. I just got to put this out there, but some may argue, Muhib, that your best years are behind you. So I did want to put
oh,
that's been floating around the
from
parking lot.
Mohib,
Muhib, it's been floating around the parking lot, chill sessions after the games. So Muhib, we're just people are wondering, are the best years behind you?
oh
Because
my god,
you started off winning a championship and now you're kind of faltering and going down. So
No.
I want to put this on record. I am calling
Well,
you
this
up,
is your show, Muhib.
and
This is your show, Maju. But I
so
know I'm sure Omar has something to say.
yeah, no, of course, I'm gonna let Omar go, but I just want to make sure he understands that and he needs to really step up his game. Omar,
so I mean, look, I'm gonna give my um, unsolicited analysis of Mohib out here, and so number one, I think Mohib is probably the best release in terms of a shot that I've seen in quite some time. Right, like I have never seen a player, at least in recent history, who can really let the ball go and in mid stride, almost like you would never expect him to get a shot
And
off in that
effortlessly.
scenario.
Yep.
Yeah, and as a defenseman, it's like he's a nightmare as well, right? So like when I have to like as soon as it gets lost in my feet, like he will curl it and shoot it, and it's so fast. Even goalies sometimes don't even have time to react. So I definitely don't think his best years are behind him. What I do think is that um, Mohi will benefit from a pure playmaker. And so that first year that he won the championship with the Malton boys, you had someone like Kazi who could dish. You have someone like Abu who can dish, right? You have someone like Huzi who was, basically an alternate threat on that team, right? So, a lot of attention I think went to Josefa because of his shot and his ability, which almost not completely ignored, but it took attention away from Mohib as well, right? So I think Mohib benefits from somebody that can move the ball but is not as interested in scoring as they are in making sure that they kind of draw the defender over and then give Mohib a chance, right? So I think Mohib this season had to create a lot of stuff himself. I didn't feel like he had the requisite support. And then Haya got bit by the injury bug, right? Zuhair got injured early in the season, and Zuhair was their number two defenseman, right? So not behind Amr Khwaja. And I think Amr rolled his ankle early in the season as well. He didn't miss any games, but who knows if he was playing 100% or not, right? So, I think they got a bit unlucky during the season, but I do think that I strongly doubt that Mohib's best seasons are behind him. I think that, there's definitely more to come. And, he's definitely a special talent.
Yeah, I wholeheartedly agree. Muhib is definitely one of those special talents we haven't seen in a while, and he's still young, and relative to, well, to me, I guess. But again, like, he still had, Hamoudi that was able to dish him, being able to facilitate that play. But going back to what you were saying, Omar, it's that playmaker facility that he needed, which probably wasn't there. Um, because again, at the same time, like they had a team, just like every team in the summer season, they weren't consistent in their lines. It's not, the summer season was consistent with lines, not pretty much there. You had a lot of guys that didn't show up, so it wasn't consistency from that end. Even Hamoudi himself missed, I think, a game or two too, right? So, but again, not to take away from Haya, like in general, I think Haya was a well constructed team, just one of those things that just underachieved at the end.
Yeah,
But
I mean, look,
Mohib is definitely not washed for sure.
and
hey
look, and
guys,
and 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 we can be explicit and say like I do think not the goalie that was chosen, but the fact that a goalie was chosen in the first round was a mistake, right? I think that you have to scan the goalies that are available, and in my humble opinion, I feel like the goalies for the most part were relatively on par. I don't think that there was a huge discrepancy in the goalie. And whenever you find that in a draft, I think that you can probably, again, going in the first round, you take the best player available. I know that Mohi badly wanted to play with Altaf Panchari, right? Badly. He definitely he tried to trade for him, but can you imagine what a different team that would have been if he took him in the first round,
Wow.
right? And then maybe on the snake he took his goalie, right? So I mean, hindsight's 2020, but Mohib is definitely a novice GM, if you will, and I'm sure he's learning from these experiences.
Guys, you need to stop giving Mohib so much credit. It's just come on. Let's stop a little bit. No, he's definitely a good player, and just looking at it from my end as well. You guys synopsis is exactly it. Like he ended up having to be the dish man, where he's usually the trigger man, and you could definitely see that difference in his game. And I don't think it necessarily hurt him, but it just hurt the way the team was playing. So they just weren't able to score enough. Um, I agree with you, Omar. With they probably did take one of the best goalies, but that being said, I think the best goalie, given the conditions, year over year or season over season performance, belongs to. And I'm so hoping. Actually, no, I'm not even right on the next slide, but it goes to Rida. Yusuf Kapoor, hands down, has proven himself to be resilient when it comes to the heat. He's won goalie of the year last season. His stats prove that he's again the goalie of the season this year. So I think that there is some varying differences again, and that's all subjective. Where some people may say I'm better than where I went, and others may be up and down. But I think hands down the best goalie of the season is Yusuf Kapoor, and has been for the last few seasons. So that's just my take, and that's the goalie take. But anyways, let's jump to the next team, and we're just gonna jump right into Iman. So Iman being the best team of the season, they were able to bring it. They were always kind of middle of the pack, and alhamdulillah, I've been playing for them, and I'm not repping their jersey because I don't have it on me, but they were able to stay consistent even with one GM that was Asif Bika was missing a couple of games at the tail end of the season. Alhamdulillah, we were able to come together and play 3D, play mix and match our lines, and put together a solid performance in the last few games to really have a good push going forward. Again, we're not going to do the playoff recap just yet. We're just going to look at the season. So I know Habibi, you've been starting it off the last couple of times, but I'm going to go with Omar. Do you want to just give a synopsis of it?
So I think I had approached Omar and Asif after the draft, and I told them that you guys drafted the best team, and I think that basically I was right because they ended up first in the league at the end of the season. But green GMs, first time GMs, I think they did a really good job, right? And I think that Omar Mahmoud, I think he was forced to play defense this season, and which is a position that he excels at, but he prefers to play forward. So I mean, it just goes to show that he's kind of put the team first, and it shows on the score sheet. And Abid Hati has been a pleasant surprise for them as well, right? He is someone that I think he was kind of on the radar, but I don't think anybody expected him to be that good. And I think the best is yet to come, right? Because I know Azar Zafar is a member of the team, but I think he's missed quite a few games this season. But I mean, he adds another dimension in terms of speed and ability. He can play forward, he can play defense. So I know we're not getting to the playoff preview yet, but I think Iman's done quite well. And this is also despite Asif Bika maybe having a down season, right? Asif Bika has not lit up the scoreboard as we usually see him. I think he had one goal, 0 goals.
I don't think he had any.
Yeah.
Oh, he did?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was it open net?
Yeah. Right. So I mean, it just goes to show, right, that other people have kind of picked up the slack. And they're a hardworking team, right? They're a big team. You have someone like Hassan Malik, who's been also a pleasant surprise, right? He's probably the biggest of the Maliks, but
he broke Butch's.
Oh man, no, let's not even go there, man. That was just.
I'm just kidding.
Poor Butch.
Right, but I mean, yeah, he's done very well. He's playing the game smart. So look, they drafted very, very well, and it shows, right? So kudos to Omar and Asif.
So
Yeah, and just going back to what you're saying, Omar, in terms of like the fact that their GM Asif didn't do as much as he was expected to do, but the fact that they drafted a well-constructed team in terms of like letting the others do what the GMs are supposed to do, it just shows how well that team was drafted. Is that they didn't have to rely on that top line. They really got some scoring power and some offense from their secondary unit, which is again it's a true tell of a well-drafted team.
yeah. On that note as well, so Ismail Malik, as we've actually started to call him the professor, he's gotten one game with a hat trick, two multi goal, multi point games. So he's actually leading the team goal scoring with, it says 6 on the stats, but I think we need that updated. But so he has at least 6 or 8 goals. So he's been leading our team quite strong, and just that silent killer who's been just running around, doing hustling out there, just making sure he's at the right place, and even just taking the ball in, right? So I think it really makes a difference. Now on the back end, we also have versatility. So like you said, we've had Omar who's playing D. We have Ali
You have Farouk as well, right?
Farouk as well, but we have Ali Murtaza, who's again listed as a forward, but he's more. He said, "Hey, whatever the team needs, I will do," and we asked him to play defense. Phenomenal. Bilal Sayed, our resident backup goalie, because he actually played a game in net for me already, and he's been playing defense. Shining star that he's been able to step in, and he's one of those players with a deceptive stick. So he'll keep it very close to him, and then just swipes it away from you. So alhamdulillah, like I've been very blessed with having that team in front of me. I think the strength is the team just coming together, people not even keeping their ego. They're just dishing their ego away, saying, "Let's. I will play whatever." Salman Bati's played 2 games at center. He looks phenomenal as a centerman. I love him as a center. He's playing deep. He's playing far back. Faisal, again, the man who's just with the wooden stick, just unaged. He just doesn't age at all. And to be quite honest, and I'm going to put it out there, I don't care what anyone says, but I think the overall weakness is me in net, right? The heat gets to me a lot quicker. So I do have that challenge. I'm trying to build that resiliency. But I think the weakness of such a strong team is their goaltending. So it's going to be something we'll discuss further as to what the challenges are moving forward. But I think that's going to be the one X factor that we can we'll see what happens when it comes to the playoffs. Now, the next team we have is our brothers in red. And surprisingly enough, Iman will be facing Ehsan. So it's just the way that the slides worked out. But so Ehsan has had a pretty good season. And again, they drafted pretty well, in my opinion. They got the first pick with the snake pick. And they, again, I think first game they tied or very close loss, if it was a loss. But then they started faltering, and to the point where they were actually out of a playoff spot for I think 1 week. So can anyone, Habibi, do you want to start breaking this down? Because you were following them pretty close, and you have a very close relationship with Dawood being on his team for a few seasons.
Well, Dawood is Dawood. I mean, Dawood always drafts what he's familiar with. I mean, that's no surprise to us. Dawood just goes what he's familiar with, and it works for him. So I think, in terms of like how he drafted, you're correct. Like in terms of like the acquisition that he had with Khwajaz, and in terms of the snake, I think that was something that was not really a surprise. Again, Dawood drafts according to what he's familiar with, and he kind of grows with that team as they go. Having said that, that's an attribute of how Hassan or how Dawood drafts. He's just very consistent. Again, well, those teams that are just hide under the radar, just kind of, they're not going to make that splashy, we're on first and we'll remain in first. They're just kind of one of those teams that just kind of like hang in the middle, and that just all of a sudden they just, end up with a playoff spot, and then they're just a totally different dynamic from there. I think Dawood and Casantini play extremely well together. I think that that GM duo, in terms of their familiarity, in terms of like how they play with each other, that works. I remember when we played against them, like they like it's just the same play all over again. Like that, the wood in the slot, because Casatini feeds him and he just keeps on scoring. That wood does have a very deceptive, shot, and especially with Casatini feeding him, you got a very good tandem right there. But you can't take away the kids either. You got Ray. That guy is a menace. You know what I mean? Like that guy can just outrun anybody. So you got that speed, and you got him playing with Dawood and Casantini on the front line. But beyond that, it's kind of questionable. Do you know what I mean? Like in terms of like where it goes from there. But again, that top line with Ray, Casentini and Dawood, it works well for them. It has worked well for them, and it will continue to work well for them because that's what Dawood does. Like he just goes with what he knows, and it's worked well for him. So in terms of like the team in review, in terms of like how they were constructed, it was constructed based on familiarity. That works for Dawood.
Yeah, I agree. Um, that was notorious, right? That he'll draft a guy and then he will keep drafting that guy, right? So, on this team is definitely Riz. Riz is that guy. Yeah, uh,
Oh, Mohib, that was funny.
yeah. Right. So, look, that
I'll
team.
be 60 by then.
Yeah, we just played Daoud and Ehsan, right? And so I guess my brief analysis is kind of that they're extremely fast. They're very gritty. They're not afraid to mix it up in the corners. Um, but I just feel like they don't really have the finish, which is surprising, right? Because Daoud has a very lethal wrist shot, and Casentini has a very very hard slap shot that I have taken at the back of my leg. And so there's no reason that they shouldn't be scoring. But what I do find is they kind of get zone entry, and then they almost looking for the perfect play. The goal that they did score was just Casentini. He just right from behind the blue line, he just took it and it curved. He took a slap shot, it curved and it went in. And so if they do want to have success in the playoffs, which we'll get to, I think they're gonna have to find a way to get more shots to the net. But I mean, otherwise they're a very difficult team to keep up with. Like, I would argue that the only team that could probably match them in speed is probably Rida. But apart from that, I do think that they have that advantage over every other team.
Now, speaking of Rida, we're going to jump right into them. So Rida finishing second best, just right. And again, this was back and forth quite a bit of times between Iman and Rida, just fighting for that 1-2 spot. Rida just had a couple of little falters, and one game where they only had, I think, 6 people show up. So I think ultimately that was their demise that got them out of first seed. But phenomenal season, phenomenal across the board. Ajmal leading the way, just in terms of playing forward, defense, the leadership quality, and big ups to the GMs, sorry, Hamza and Hashim. So again, first time GMs, they managed to. I think on the draft day, no one was even expecting them to flourish as they did. People were counting them out that they messed up. I think I'm going to take it back again to the best goalie on the board. Got picked second last in terms of goalies, Yusuf Kapoor. He delivered a sub 2 goals against average season with a 900 save percentage. You cannot ask for anything better than that, especially with the Heat. He looked like he could play a second game some of these days. So
yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I mean, this is another team that I had gone. Actually, I think I messaged Hamza after the draft, and I said, it was a very smart draft, right? I mean, in addition to Ajmal, they got Ahsan Zaidi, I believe in the second or third round, right? Which is a steal for where? Second?
Yep.
Oh,
Yep.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. In any case, I mean, they got Ahsan Zaidi, and he's no slouch, right? And the really cool thing that I like about Rida is that they have some very strong personalities. So if you're ever, I mean, I usually sit in the penalty box and watch the games, but you'll hear Ajmal giving his feedback, Ehsan giving his feedback, Hashim giving his feedback. And so everybody's kind of pushing the team forward, which is a really good environment. Like this is bring your hard hat and lunch pail kind of team, right? So they're not flashy in what they do at all, but what they are is they're very cerebral with how they approach the game, right? And they will pick their spots and they will win by doing so. One X factor I guess has been missing is what's his name? Oh my god, how am I drawing a blank right now?
That's okay.
So I will.
He's a rookie. He's a rookie. Hold on. He's
Rehan Kazi.
No, further up in the draft.
Yasser
I don't
Habib.
have.
No,
Chopra?
up more. Chopra, right? What's his first name?
Ahmed Sufyan Chopra.
Yeah, right. He has been amazing. He's been lights out, but he has been missing the last few weeks, right? So I'm assuming that he's going to be back for the playoffs. But he has been, one of their X factors. He's fast. He has good hands. He's also capable of putting the ball in the net, right? So I'm not sure where Hamza did his homework and Hashim did their homework, but they clearly did it. And again, I do think that Yusuf fit that style of play. Like Yusuf is a very good goalie at stopping the first chance, and then I think that he's been relying on the team in front of him to make sure that there's no second or third chances, right? So that game that they lost, that they were short, which was what happened, right? The team got tired and they weren't able to pick up the second and third chances, and that's how they ultimately lost the game. In addition to being tired, right? So kudos to Hamza and Hashim. I do, like you said, I do
Absolutely.
think some people kind of were a little bit puzzled by that GM duo at the draft or when it was announced, but clearly they've proven something in terms of their ability to run the team. So kudos to you guys.
Now, I want to confirm that Essence Zaidi went ninth overall, so second round.
Yeah. Yeah, which just goes back to the leadership of what Hamza and Hashim were doing. They actually did their homework, exact what Omar said. They constructed a very well team. They didn't have to do any changes, like in terms of like for any of their personnel because they didn't need to. They had a team that was well drafted, well constructed from the very beginning, and that is definitely an attribute that should be given to them both. So I think them being rookie GMs in terms of like summer, but again, it doesn't go back or it doesn't go to to take back in terms of like what they did in terms of like making sure that they took their roles very seriously. They actually did their homework, and they drafted a very well drafted team, and the standings kind of show in terms of like what they did. So absolutely kudos to both Hamza and Hashim on that one.
Yeah, can't agree more. I think the steal for that team, and one of the steals of the draft was Yasser Habib at the fifth round. The man's played Masters. He's played high tier, high levels, and again, he seems very chill and relaxed when he's playing. But
Fierce
Mohib,
competitor.
he's a competitor. But Mohib, I'm gonna get onto you this. That man has the best lineup up. Like this beard lineup, that game is strong for him, man. Like just do you not see that just crisp? Like I got to appreciate that, man.
Every guy in our league is a brown guy with a beard. So just wanted to say that.
So true, so true. Now the focus is on Yakin. So Yakin just slid into the last position in the last couple of weeks. They were counted down and out for a long time. No one even thought they would be getting in, but with a few recent acquisitions because of key players dropping out. Again, it happens. It happens. People have other obligations. We understand that hockey is life for a lot of us, but people have to go see family, have to travel. Things come up. So in those last few weeks, again with the transition, with everything happening, the team was able to come together, and with Asawi's bloody shot that moves this much left to right. Goalies be aware. He just loves to put that spin on. They were able to claw back and get that not even last playoff spot. They jumped Esan and took the third playoff spot. So, Omar, I'm going to put you on the spot, bud. Just because this is your team, this is how you've been on this team from from draft day and really playing your heart out, even with injury. Because I want to bring that out too. You've been playing injured for more than one season. I want to actually ask you how that is going, because I know you were trying to do some rehab and see if you could get better. But you and Sajid Bayat and some of these guys just put it together and just trucking on, man.
Look, I think that with regards to like my own health, I think everybody's playing with a little nagging something, right? So, and we're all older now, so I am
More than
kind of
some.
figuring out. Yeah, I'm kind of figuring out, you know, a better stretching routine and maybe some stuff during the week. I think I'm used to. I'm not a young man anymore. I can't just go into a game cold and expect to come out unscathed, right? So. Uh, that's kind of what I'm working on personally. But like at the end of the day, Hood and Ahmed, they drafted a team that they felt could outpace other teams. And when Zaid Qadri was still on the team, it was really just a get a deep cycle, tire the other team out, right, and then almost pick your spots. And where we were kind of finding some trouble was, yes, we would cycle, but then there was no finish, right? So sometimes, again, I think a lot of younger guys, especially, they get a little bit of tunnel vision, right? So they go in deep with the ball, that they kind of ignore the point, and then they end up turning it over. And that was kind of our frustration for the first little while. And I think the moves that were made introduce a little bit of veteran presence. So you have someone like Salman Sayed, right, who I mentioned on Ikhlas, and I think there's been a lot of trust in letting the offense flow kind of through him. And then also, just something simple like the ability to win a face-off, right? That was absent for a number of games that we lost. Like, it's really frustrating. You get an offensive zone face-off and then you lose it, and then we're basically running back the other way, right? So. I definitely want to give a shout out to Altaf. Right? Altaf has been kind of the engine of the offense, and when the games that he's missed, we've definitely felt it. He runs hard. He has a great shot. He plays his position very, very well. Like, he takes the game quite seriously. I can rely on him. Like, if I go pinch, I know that he'll cover me if he's on. So he does know what he needs to do on the floor. So big shout out to him. I think that he's been a great asset to the team. In addition to that, Sajid's really turned the clock back, right? Sajid, he looks like Sajid of young, and he's sprinting for breakaways. He's taking the ball in deep. So, he's been a very, very valuable member of the team, and someone that I personally can trust. I think one of the challenges that I've had in the last few seasons is that my offense has been a little bit stunted because I'm not sure that if I'm gonna put my team in a position where or I'm gonna leave my other defensemen out to hang if I go pinch. But you can regularly hear Sajid tell me, "Go and run. I got you. Don't worry, it's fine." Right, and so that gives you a little bit of confidence. The kids have been great. Jabir Iftikhar, he's still putting it together, but he's relentless on the ball. You have other guys like Anas. Anas, I don't know how to pronounce his last name.
Marachia.
Yeah, so he's been a very pleasant surprise. I think that he was drafted in the 6th round, maybe
Seventh.
later, 7th round. Yeah, but if you look at his stats, like, he's scored almost every game he's played, and he's just been an absolute steal for where he was drafted. And he plays forward, he plays defense. He's really a team guy, like, wherever you need him. But again, he can put the ball in the net, and he has a great shot. So I think that it slowly came together in the end. Obviously, the addition of Maz can hurt the team, right? But alhamdulillah, right? I think there's a long road to go with the playoffs. Like, even the addition of Vasim, he's been a great presence in the locker room and the bench, and in the team chat. Like, he's been a very calming presence. So like I am a very passionate player personally, right? So, like, I take it. You definitely hear my voice out there, and sometimes maybe I'm a little bit vocal, and Vasim will put his hand on my shoulder and he'll say, "Look, man, it's okay. We'll figure this out." He's very positive and optimistic, right? So definitely, I think that is a great mix of personality on Yakin, and I'm excited to see where it goes.
There's nothing I could add to that. I think they gelled at the right time, and we'll see what happens in the playoffs.
Sorry, I was just writing something and I want to get this out there. So, fun fact for everyone that doesn't know, Wasim Kagzi and Omar Sawi both played IBHA. So, a lot of us did play from IBHA, but they were both good. Of course, but while I'm typing, of course, I'd make a mistake. But they were both all-stars. So, they both got the jersey from in that league. So,
I still have it.
You still have it? Yes. You got to rep that one of these days, man.
Yeah.
Mashallah, it was well deserved. I hate, like, people don't know this, but Asawi had a deadlier shot back then. He couldn't hit the net for the life of him, but just the cannon he would release would make people part because no one wanted to take that slapper. But now he's been able to really curtail that and get that even more on net, and it's just been deadly. Omar, if you want to get back to the swing, just shoot at me. You have a niche of just scoring on me somehow. So, you're my kryptonite in one way or another.
I think I take a little bit off the shot just to get the net. I like back then it was just cool, right? To shoot as hard as you can, and it doesn't really matter if you hit the net or not. Like now, I'm actually, I'm aiming. So
It gets better with age.
yeah,
Okay, so last but not least, folks, it's the playoff preview.
Bum bum
So,
bum.
yeah, I know we got to call it soon. So, first we have the first seed is Iman versus the fourth seed Ehsan, and the second seed Rida with against the third seed Yakin. Now that being said, like, hey guys, I got to gloat a little bit. I'm impressed by my ability to put the ticker down, the scrolling ticker, where I was able to actually put the game times. So for those who don't know, please share with your team members. I hope everyone shows up. But game one is Rida versus Yakin at 8, then Iman Ihsan, and then it just goes to the game two. So you have to win 2 games to move on. A tie doesn't do anything for you. If you tie the first game, you have to win the second game. And if you tie, if it's still dead even, then you play the overtime and or shootout. So let's break this down. Habibi, go for it. Let's go for the game one. Iman versus Ihsan.
Well, I think for Iman to win, they literally just have to shut down their top line. That's just the way I see it. I think Hassan, just in my humble opinion, their top line is the top line. I don't know where they go beyond that. So I think if Iman needs, I mean, Iman is a little bit more different, and they're obviously um, their standings show that they're a more balanced team. So again, we mentioned this earlier in the podcast. Asif Bika really hasn't done anything on the score sheet, but guess who has? The rest of the team. Do you know what I mean? And when you look at Hassan standings in terms of like where all their goal scoring is coming from, we know where it's coming from. It's no secret. So I think the secret for Iman to win is obviously just to be able to contain that top line, which is Dawood Kasatini
Rayan Kawaja.
right.
and Rehan. So I think that's just my opinion. For Hassan to beat Iman, I think it's just really like it's again Maju, like we talked about you. It's just really capitalizing on that Kesatini shot. Do you know what I mean? Just kind of like taking advantage again. No disrespect towards you, Maju, or anything like
No,
that.
no,
But
of course.
if we're looking at goaltending, but again, like you have a knack of just kind of just stealing games in the playoffs. That's your kryptonite. I mean, that's where you shine the most in the playoffs. But I think if Hassan wants to win, that's what they have to do. They just got to make sure they just got to keep shooting on net. But that's going to be a difficult task because you do have good personnel in front of you. Farouk Khan is a beast in front. Good luck. Good luck with them. But again, for Hassan to win, I think they need to just again utilize the shots, utilize Dawood in the slot, and just really see if they can get that secondary offense from just beyond that. And I think for Iman to win, they just got to just contain that top line and just kind of go from there. That's just my take. Um, yeah. So, Asami,
Omar.
what do you think?
Yeah.
I think one of the things that we didn't talk about two things unless it was talked about before I joined the cast. Number one, Ehsan has probably the biggest X factor in the playoffs, which is Ali Khwaja, in my
Yeah.
opinion. Right, Ali Khwaja is a man that rises to the occasion when necessary. Like he is someone that can literally steal a game, and but on a consistent basis, right? Like Ali
Nobody
Khwaja,
knows that more than I do. I like he's
nobody
done
knows that
that.
more than I do. I have not scored an Ali Khwaja in the last 5 years. Okay, it's been very difficult, and God
Absolutely
knows
right.
I have tried my hardest, right? I have not, even last game, right? I let like a real bullet go, right? And somehow he just got like his the corner of his stick on it, and it was going top shelf. But I mean, he finds a way, and that's something that you have to respect, right? And so, Iman, it does. They have their work cut out for them, right? Like, yes, they may get their chances, and Iman's really good at picking their spots. Like for some context, Iman beat Yakin 3-2 on 10 shots, right? So when they get shots, they make them count, but you must have to make them count a little bit more against Ali Khwaja, I would say. Um, and one person we didn't talk about with regards to Iman was Farouk Khan. Farouk Khan is a man on a mission this season. Like last game, I mean, they clinched the playoff spot, but they were playing for first place, and winning is extremely important to Farouk, right? Extremely important. So this man was sliding across the floor. He was blocking shots. He was just, anything he had to do to make sure that they won that game, he did. And so, a lot of respect to Farouk, and he's been getting goals this season too. He's been,
Yeah,
finding
I
his
think they won
shot and
Player
his
of the Week.
rhythm.
I think 1 week.
No, I don't think he won. He did get, I believe, first star, but he has 4 goals this season.
Okay.
Yeah, right. Which is amazing, right? So kudos to Farouk. So look, this is going to be a battle of the goaltenders, I believe. And I think that the goaltenders are, no pressure is aid, but the goaltenders are going to have to hold it down for their teams. And I think your assessment is right about the different lineups. But look, I think at the end of the day, the goalie that plays better will get the win.
I agree.
Yeah, totally. And Habibi, I think you're actually right. I think Farouk Khan did get Player of the Week 1 week. You're right. Yeah, I totally agree. Like it's just two strong teams duking it out. I think there's been a common assessment across the board that Esan is a one-line team, but they're also now they know this, they've heard this, and they're going to try to prove everyone wrong.
Yeah,
Now,
I think that's fair.
yeah, and to be fair, to be honest, Ali and I have gone a head to head quite a few times in the last few seasons. Um, not to gloat, but I've come out on top in our recent outcomes. But hey, at any day, anything can change. We don't know what's going to happen any given Friday. So that's just, hey, you do what you want, you say what you want, but you better bring your A game. And yeah, Farouk is just I think he just needs to win. He just wants to win, and there's nothing he's gonna like. He's just gonna leave it out on the line. So, great assessment, guys. Now the next matchup is Rida and Yakin. So Rida again clinching the second spot. Yakin had him in the third spot. Yakin definitely having new faces, still to gel when it comes to that. But some of these players have known history, meaning Wasim and Omar have played together past. They know how each other play. They complement each other well. Chopra has played with Wasim Kaidzi before. So some of these folks that have come in have really gelled. And we didn't even talk about, well, the X factors, again, being the goalies. We have tried, tested, and true goalie that's just been lighting it up, Yusuf Kapoor. And not to take anything away from him, Mr. Khalid Mufti, who just gets better as every season progresses. So this is going to be one of those games where, guys, make sure you show up for all 4 games, because it's just going to be just wow in general. I don't even know what else to say. But Habibi, let's break it down.
No pressure. I think for this one, I think I'm just going to go back into what we are talking about. How Rida was constructed from the very beginning. They were a team that had no personnel changes throughout the year. They were well drafted from the very beginning, so they had literally the 10 games to adjust and get familiar with their personnel through and throughout. Hamza and Hashim did a great job in terms of drafting a team, and it's proven. With Ajmal, with everyone that's on their team, they're familiar with each other's style. They've done it. They've gone through that journey throughout the 10 games. So they have that familiarity, like in terms of like how each other play. And of course, they with Kapoor and net, again, he's definitely proven to be one of the, if not the best goalie this season. Yakin, for instance, on the other hand, I think their problem is obviously a problem could be that they haven't really had that time to gel. You see what I mean? With all the changes that they've had, like the last couple of games, they really had never had that opportunity to get familiar with each other's style. So I think that could bite them. But again, with the leadership that they have on that team in terms of like what you just took, like the familiarity with the certain personnel with Omar and Coco and all that stuff in terms of like they have played with each other outside of Iceland. But again, Yakin just hasn't played as a cohesive group throughout the whole season, so that might hurt them in the end. I actually think this game will be a true test of goalies. To be honest with you, as well, I think the best goalie in this one will definitely, will definitely win. There's definitely scoring prowesses on both teams. Yakin definitely has, with Altaf and all the personnels that Asawi mentioned, it's just like who they can score. Yakin's got they got guys that can score. Rida also has guys that can score. But it really boils down to me in terms of like goalies. I think the best goalie will definitely win the series for sure, in my opinion.
I mean, my opinion is the Rida is going to be a very tough team to contain speed wise. So, I mean, if you rewind to the first time these two teams met, I think the second time was a wash, right? I think Rida was extremely short. I don't think you can chalk that up to anything. Rida completely slapped Yakin sideways, right, in that first game that they played. Like, it was embarrassing. And like, it
I
was
remember that. I
yeah, it
remember
was
that.
very frustrating to play that game, right? Like, there was a lot of odd man rushes. They were beating us to the ball. I think Bilal Iftikhar had like, I don't know, like 2 goals, almost on the verge of a hat trick. I mean, he was my student, so definitely rubbed my nose in it a little bit after that. But um, so I do think that Yakin has something to prove here, right? I think that Rida comes in with a little bit of a chip on their shoulder, and I think that Yakin has everything to prove here. So I think goalies will definitely play a factor in it, but um, I think it's going to come down to the team that wants it more, the team that is willing to play discipline, play their position. Like against Rida, like especially you have like someone like Ajmal on the floor, and Ajmal doesn't play out of position, nor does he allow you to play out of position. And if you're out of position when Ajmal has the ball, you don't get the ball, right? That's just the reality, right? So I think that Ajmal will kind of dictate what people do on the floor, and again, and you have someone like Asan Zaidi as well, right? Who is no
The
slouch
general
when it comes to
himself. Yep.
exactly right. So I think you have personnel there that will direct the guys to kind of go to where they need them to go to, maybe find success, and Yakin is going to definitely have their work cut out for them. So I'm excited to see. I think that's going to be one of the games to watch for sure.
Now, I did forget to say this, but I did put this up on the while we were talking. But Umar Mahmoud is looking for his third straight title. So he's the GM for Iman, and he won with I believe it was Rida, then with Yakin, and now he's on the hunt for his third straight title. He will be the only GM or only player. Well, he'll be one of two. If
On,
he wins this season, it'll be him and myself who have won fall. Summer, fall, and winter, or yeah, summer, fall, and winter. That's the way you call it.
you didn't do it consecutively, did you?
No, I've never. No, it's been
Yeah, so
mine. He's the
he'll be
only.
the first player in Islam History Hanger Edition to actually have a three-peat. Nobody's done it yet.
Yeah, yeah. So there's a lot.
Hanger edition.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know any of the stats from before the hanger,
Yeah.
so that's why, but
Don't you
um,
dare put an asterisk. There's no PEDs on this one.
Well, just
yeah,
like for me, Iron Man. There's an asterisk.
yeah. I mean,
We'll just completely forget that you had to go. Your wife took you somewhere and trip and whatnot. So, but
yes.
gentlemen, this has been a blast. Any parting words? Any parting thoughts? Just before we wrap it up.
The only other thing, I mean, I don't know how many people are watching, but for anybody that is watching, alhamdulillah, we're excited to wrap this season up, and obviously stay tuned for announcements on the fall season. We are pretty much full at this point, and so we're excited to make arrangements and announcements for that. We are working on the possibility of live streaming our finals for the summer, but we will give further details with that on our social media. Otherwise, good luck to all the teams, and thank you to the players that played in the season but didn't make the postseason. We definitely appreciate all of your efforts and your company on the Friday nights, and we hope to see you again in the fall.
Habibi, you have the last word, sir.
It's your show. You have the last words. But yeah, just to echo on what Omar was saying. Like, alhamdulillah, like the league is great, and it's only great because of you guys. You know what I mean? It's really great because of the players that are involved. There's obviously a lot of volunteers in the back end, so obviously I want to thank them for all the works and efforts that they do. But again, I'm really looking forward to what tomorrow brings. I think tomorrow will be very exciting. I think the matchups will be very exciting to watch. I'll be watching them for sure. And obviously, just in terms of the finals, we are looking at a pickup session in between. So again, we'll stay tuned for more information on that in terms of just getting guys out to make sure that the guys that that make it to the finals get celebrated and acknowledged, and of course, the award ceremonies will be announced there as well in terms of like the awards, because we're not we can't ignore in terms of like the certain accolades that certain players have done, but also the GMs as well. So I think this season was great. the summer season has been, again, summer, like in terms of like a little bit more, obviously it was a good opportunity for us to see the GMs. I think I was extremely impressed with the way the GMs conducted themselves, especially with the rookie GMs. It was great working with them in terms of like the leadership that they brought not only to their teams, but also to the league as well. So I think I just want to make sure that I acknowledge them and just making sure that they get the acknowledgement for the leadership that they've done in terms of making the playoff. Oh, sorry, their the player experiences for their teams good as well. So, Maji, you got the last word, buddy.
No, I think Habibi and Omar, thank you for joining me, and you guys did a fantastic job. Of just I think a lot of a lot of accolades go out to everybody that makes this league happen, right? Most of us don't understand what goes on in the back end and how much heat the OC take, how much trouble the OC have to take and then go through the entire season. And then, of course, as the playoffs come and everything ramps up even more with the new season approaching. So, to the bottom of my heart, I'm not even an OC, and I feel the pressure. So, Jazakallah khair. Like, you guys are just doing an amazing job. Keep it up. There would be no league without you guys. So, and everybody else who's still watching, 14 of you, the league depends on volunteers, depends on folks, just being there, camaraderie at the end of the day. And don't give the OC a lot of heck, right? They're there to listen to your concerns, but they need to do what's in the best interest of the entire league, not just one person, not just one team. So they're more than willing to hear from you. But if they're not, you can always talk to me, and I'll try to talk to the OC. But remember, they're humans; they get tired too, right? So just give them a break. But again, everyone, Jazakallah for joining the Maju Show. Inshallah, we'll again get on the regular schedule next season. And I think that's it. So looking forward to seeing everyone tomorrow.
Thank you so much, Maju.
All right, guys. Thank you.
Okay.